If you want to learn how to write very cool melodies, but at the same time you don't know anything about musical theory, then I assure you that you have come to the right place. In this video we'll learn how to write beautiful melodies from scratch. It's 100%. Be sure to be subscribed to the channel if you want more videos, and let's get started. So first of all, let's write down the chords. Go to the piano roll and set the scale to D sharp minor. Also this means that my first note will be the D sharp note. Great, and then we have such a rule that in order to write a chord, we must put each next note through one highlighted one. Just skip one highlighted note and put on the next. Again, I skip one highlighted note and put it here. So we write down a simple chord like this. Now let's complicate it. See, our chord is made up of notes like D sharp, F sharp and A sharp. And you can put these notes on the octaves that are higher. Simply put, if you have A sharp on the bottom, then you can put it on the top too. If you have E sharp at the bottom, then there may be E sharp at the top. You can also remove any note or notes from your chords. For example, I don't like that there is a low sound in my chord. I can just take an example and delete a lower F sharp note. In this case, the top note will stay, since this note is one of the notes that make up the chord. The only note that shouldn't be touched will be our root note D sharp. If you screw it up, the whole scale will be destroyed, so I'll just copy it. And as a result of our manipulations, we created such a melody. Now let's write the next one. Put a C sharp note. We skip one highlighted note, put on the next one. Skip another highlighted one and put on the next one. We have formed a chord of notes. C sharp, E sharp and G sharp. And now I can play these notes octaves higher. Here I just go and copy the bottom notes to the top. And the E sharp at the bottom I'll just delete it because I can't delete it just like any other except the root note. It should stay in its place. And this is how we build the chords. Our next task is to write a melody on the top of our chords. For this I took the piano. Highlight, press intermediate ellipse, now exit the piano roll, hold down Ctrl and click on the tracks. And go back to the piano roll. Now we press focus and our notes are highlighted. That's cool. Now let's get down to writing. Look what the catch is. You have built chords, but this doesn't mean at all that all your notes should be written only according to them. The only notes that must match your chord will be the ones that match the beginning of your chord. For example, I put a note somewhere from above and I see that the beginning of this one-in-one coincides with the beginning of the chord note. So I take this note and put it so that it matches the chord. Why this is so? The point is that our chords create a certain sound, and when you put a note anywhere but not where chords are, an additional sound is created that doesn't sound itself and doesn't match with the chords, and this for it turns out nonsense. This for if you see that the beginning of your note coincides with the beginning of the chord straight one-to-one, then put the note on your chord. But if there is at least the slightest deviation, then put it where it's convenient for you. With the first note sorted out, and now you'll tell me, 80, and what we should do with the rest of the notes that don't match with the notes of the chords. So from the rest of the notes you can put as you like. The main thing is that they stand on the highlighted tracks. For example, let's put a note here and here. These notes just sit on the highlighted area. They can be or past my chords. Why so? Because the chords sound brightest at the beginning and everything that comes next is the tail, which doesn't really affect our melody. And so I wrote the second melody. As you can see here I have a note at the beginning of the chord because its beginning and the beginning of a chord are the same. Also here and here, but you can ask me, AT, and why is your note is not on the chord? I'll explain everything now. Our chord consists of the notes A sharp, C sharp and E sharp. So my note should be in A sharp, C sharp and E sharp. And on what my note is? Correctly, A sharp, then everything is correct. As for the rest notes that don't match the chords, I just put them on highlighted area. There are no writing techniques here, just put it so that you like the way it sounds. Listen to what I wrote. Go ahead, and here we have one more piano from Expand, and we'll write a lot of notes. Highlight again, insert ellipse, and with the Ctrl head click on the tracks that need to be highlighted. Look, now we are going to write a third melody. If the beginning of any note coincides with the beginning of your green notes, then we must put this note in the place where the green notes are. For example, I write notes and I want to put a note by example somewhere in this place. But I see that there is a green note at the bottom, as the beginning of green note coincides with the beginning of my note. So I take it and put it on a green note. If my note don't match the green notes, then I can just place them anywhere, but they must be on the highlighted area. Look, I wrote a melody. As you can see, the notes of this melody coincide with the beginning of the notes of the green melody. In other places where there are no green notes, my notes are on the highlighted tracks. Listen. Now let's do some manipulations with this melody. First, let's duplicate the notes one octave up. To do this, I press Ctrl A, Ctrl C, Ctrl V and Shift up. Now let's change the velocity of all notes. Since we have a piano playing, let's make it as if a person does it. He can't play all the notes at the same volume, some were quieter, some were louder, and we'll do the same. Press Ctrl A and then set the randomizer parameter to 20, which means that now your notes will be split into range of 20 velocity units. I press randomize. Now let's select the notes that play very high and make them quieter. And at the output we have such a melody. Now let's add part. Who doesn't know, part is a melody that plays along the root notes. As a part, I decided to take a violin from a Syrix orchestra. Highlight, insert ellipse, and now we'll make it so that only the notes of the chord are shown to us, because all the melody rests on them. So as I said, we write the pad on the root notes. Just take it and put it on the lowest notes. So now we can see a little to make the tail not so long, and if desired we can copy it an octave higher. But keep in mind, the pad is a substrate, it should be quiet and play in the background somewhere behind. So let's select these notes and lower their volume down to the very bottom. We'll also lower these lower notes a little, and at the output we have such a pad. Let's listen to it. Look what joke I added. This is a voice from arcade which I turned into audio. It will also add such an ambient sound to our melody. Added purely for fun, so listen now how it sounds. Agree at school, and you know what else is cool? The video that turned out. Now you can fully hear the melody in all its glory, and I really hope that at least you'll not be too lazy to subscribe this wonderful channel. Support is with likes and comments, and yes, 80 was with you, and stay tuned.